What are global precedents or examples like, Rajeev? Because in India, the telecom operators typically have operated with margin profiles of 38, 40, 42% EBITDA margins or operating margins.
Right.
Do you think that margin profile will have to give up significantly? I mean, what are the global precedents like?
No, I mean, let's first of all, India is unique in terms of its the structure of competition. We've got now in each market between 10 and 11 operators offering pretty much the same service. There is very little difference at the vanilla level in terms of what the service offering is. So we have a very unique market structure where we have 10 operators or 11 operators in some cases offering products and services to the customers. Now, in this scenario, and this competition level is only coming up and maturing at this stage, I would argue that a EBITDA margin level of 40% is reasonably unsustainable. And so that is the argument that I make, that there is a totally new market structure that is evolving, to which the newer guys are probably more strongly poised to take advantage of.
What is more sustainable, Rajeev? What do you think margins will probably bubble down to by the end of all this?
That's something I don't know really. I would, like I said, I'm not a stock market player. I don't understand the numerical and quantitative aspects of this business vis-a-vis each one of these operators. But I would argue that there is a downward bias, a strong downward bias on margins and also on ARPUs, because we are now acquiring a totally new set of customers.
Given all that, Rajeev, would you say what happened with Bharti and MTN was a huge lost opportunity? This was probably the hook for our largest company to get into a virgin market where they could actually grow a lot more?
Yes, I've said that. I've said that on record. I think that would have been a great merger for Bharti. It would have scaled them up, and taken them to a point where nobody could have touched them. They would have been in markets where growth was strong, competition structure was much more predictable, and the margins more predictable as a consequence. So that would have been a great deal for Bharti. That it's regrettable that it didn't happen, but I said that I think on your channel. I hope that they revisit that at some point, and hopefully those two companies can come together again.
One last question. For the last 1 year now, the tariff points have been progressively moving lower and lower. At various levels, we have wondered whether there is any more downward possibility to tariffs. And every time we've been surprised. When it was 1 rupee a minute, we said, okay, how much lower can it go? Now it's 50 paise, and you're saying Telenor might change the equation a bit. You think price points can head even lower and significantly lower than where we've reached already?
Udayan, it's very difficult to predict. It all depends on how aggressive the new GSM operators, how aggressive a business strategy they pursue to gain market share. There is an incremental piece of the market. Let's argue for a minute that there is 400 million more subscribers that need to be added in the next 5 years or 4 years or 3 years. And in those 400 million subscribers, if these new operators say, we want aggregate 50, 60, 70% of that, then they will obviously have to pursue a pricing strategy to gain that market share. And inherently today, it is because the very nature of the customer base, which is 80% prepaid, 85% prepaid, price is the acquisition driver. Price points are the reason companies do better than others. Of course, there is this whole argument of customer service and network quality and coverage, but those are all pretty much becoming standardized. And I don't think there is an argument that A is better than B, while companies will make that argument. But given the prepaid nature of the incremental customer base, price points and lower price points, in my opinion, will be the driver. And then one other last point. Up to this time, and I have raised this in Parliament many times, there has been almost a cooperative pricing model because there were only 3 or 4 GSM operators. With 10 or 11 operators all providing GSM services, it becomes very difficult for even operators to manage the unofficial cartel on pricing. So there is going to be, in my opinion, pricing pressure in the market.
Rajeev Chandrasekhar, appreciate your thoughts on this. Thanks very much for taking time out today. That's the former chairman of BPL telling us that there are tough days ahead for that sector. The fun may have just begun. Not for investors in telecom, of course.